How's it going, my peeps? It is now time for the TNA Lockdown 2013 results / highlights and review video. I'll go over the results of the show, some of the highlights in my opinion, and give you guys my thoughts on the overall show. So it all kicks off with a triple threat match for the X Division Championship. Kenny King defends against Christian York and Zema, and what an awesome match that was. Really awesome match. These guys pulled off, some amazing spots, some cool spots, all of them, especially Zema and Kenny King. Actually, Kenny King, at some point, Christian York was on the outside of the ring, and Zema was like poking out of the ring. He was like in between the top and second rope. So Kenny King tried to do something different and do a moonsault by jumping from Zema's back onto Christian York on the outside, but that didn't prove to be very effective. Actually, Kenny King slipped. He didn't get to perform the moonsault, and he ended up hitting the back of his neck on the barricade. Anyways, like I said, freaking awesome match. Really, it was a great match. In the end, Kenny King wins by hitting the Royal Flush on Christian York for the 1-2-3, so Kenny King is still the X Division champion. And then there's an interview backstage, Jeremy Borash interviewing Joseph Park about his match against Joey Ryan, but then Team Bad Influence, Daniels, and Kazarian interrupt. They tell Joseph Park that Dixie Carter is waiting for him and wants to talk to him in catering. So Joseph Park leaves, and then they have a promo about their tag team championship match. Actually, it was a really good promo by Daniels and Kazarian, stating that they're going to win the tag team titles once again, and that's pretty much it. That pretty much sums it up. It was a long promo. So afterwards, it's Joey Ryan versus Joseph Park. Joey Ryan gets on the mic before the matchup, and he calls Joseph Park a mark and a few other things. Anyways, match takes place. It was a decently entertaining match. It was, what you expect from a Joseph Park match, but he didn't get busted open this time. But he did win. He actually won the matchup, so Joseph Park won a match. His second victory, the first one being against Bully Ray, like a while back. Actually, Joey Ryan was going for a roll-up, and Joseph Park wasn't falling down, so he got his balance, and then Joseph Park fell, or dropped himself onto Joey Ryan, just sat on him for the cover, and my phone just vibrated. Anyways, yeah, he sat on Joey Ryan for the cover for the 1-2-3 and won the matchup. And then came time to hype up the main event. You saw Jeff Hardy Jeff Hardy arriving at the arena, and Hulk Hogan backstage. Well, actually, it was Bully Ray with Brooke Hogan, but then Hulk Hogan came up to Bully Ray and told Brooke to step aside so they can talk. And so he's talking with Bully Ray, and basically just gave him this big speech that, he supports Bully Ray, that he sees something special in Bully Ray, and that tonight, to make sure people remember Bully Ray. And of course, telling him to win the world title. And that was pretty much it for that segment. And then it was Gail Kim versus Velvet Sky for the Knockouts Championship. Towards the end of the matchup, Gail Kim hits her finisher, Eat the Feet, but she actually gets a 2 count. She doesn't get the 3 count. So then she's mad, she complains to Taryn, and says, that was a 3 count. And she actually tells her, I think she pushed her, actually she slapped her, and she told her, come on, disqualify me, I get a rematch anyways. And she was yelling at her, and then Taryn decided to take action, and she speared Gail Kim, and she started punching her. And then, once Gail Kim got up, she was mad again, and I think she was about to attack Taryn. And then Velvet Sky gets up, she turns around, hits her finisher, goes for the cover, and wins the matchup. So it looks like they might be heading for a program or a match between Taryn and Gail Kim. And then Jeremy Borash is backstage with Robbie E, and he talks about his matchup with Robbie T, says that he's gonna make his former bro his hoe. And then they show like a video package of, their, I guess their friendship or whatever, and then, Robbie E turning on Robbie T. And then the match actually takes place, they both come out for the matchup. It was a pretty quick match, which Robbie T won with a chokeslam. And also, I forgot to mention, actually I did mention, but I made a mistake. I think I said Joseph Park got his second victory, but I think it was his third. But anyways, after the Robbies matchup, Jeremy Borash was backstage interviewing Austin Aries, asking him where his partner is. And Austin Aries says, he doesn't... it's been 2 weeks since Bobby Roode has been in the Impact Zone. People have been asking him, where is he? And he said, he can beat all 4 guys in that ring. So Daniels, Kazarian, Chavo, Hernandez, on his own, since he's the greatest man that ever lived. But luckily it doesn't have to do that, and then Bobby Roode comes up on the screen and says to Austin Aries, "Do you miss me?" And that wrapped it up for the interview. And then Chavo, Hernandez, and all the tag teams, for the matchup came out for the tag team match, or tag team title match. And that was another awesome match. All of them really, did some cool spots, had their moments in the matchup. Towards the end, Chavo was going to go for the frog splash on Daniels, and he went for it, but right before he got off the turnbuckle, Bobby Roode tagged himself in by, tapping Chavo's leg, and then he got in, threw Chavo out of the ring, went for the cover on Daniels after Chavo hit the frog splash on Daniels, and got the victory for his team. So Roode and Aries are still the tag team champions. And then they took a look back at what happened in the Knockouts Championship match between Gail Kim and Taryn Terrell. And Jeremy Borash is backstage interviewing Taryn, asking her about what happened. Taryn said, Gail Kim's been pushing her, and at some point she has to stand up for herself. And then she says, was it the right thing? And then right when she says that, Gail Kim, bam, attacks Taryn Terrell and, takes her out. And then we see Aces and Eights in their clubhouse. Basically, Dlo Brown is, praising everybody, praising every member. And he tells Wes Brisco to handle club business when he faces off against Kurt Angle next. And then Jeremy Borash interviews Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle says he's going to make Wes Brisco famous when he faces the greatest wrestler ever. And he also says he hasn't forgotten about Dlo Brown and that he's next. Now, as far as the match goes, I'd say it was a decent match. I'd say even it was a good match. But not great, but it was a good match, actually. Not as good as some of Kurt Angle's past steel cage matches, but you had some cool spots, too. Like Kurt Angle hitting a German suplex from the top rope. And he didn't pull off like a moonsault from the top of the cage like his match against Anderson, but like I said, it was a decent match. And in the end of the matchup, the referee got taken out, and Kurt Angle locked on the ankle lock, and Wes Brisco tapped out, so Kurt Angle should have won, but the referee was down. And while the referee was down, what happened is Dlo Brown came out, and well, actually before Dlo Brown came out, I should point out that Kurt Angle got out of the steel cage while the referee was slowly getting up. Kurt Angle got out of the cage, but then Dlo Brown came out. He attacked Kurt Angle, bashed his head against the steel cage, put him back in the ring, and then dragged Wes Brisco out of the ring. And then Dlo Brown hid under the ramp or whatever, so the referee wouldn't see him. So the referee then got up, saw Wes Brisco outside the ring and Kurt Angle inside, so he declared Wes Brisco as the winner of the matchup. And then Dlo Brown celebrated with Wes Brisco. And then came time for the Lethal Lockdown match. Anderson came out first, followed by Magnus, so these two started off the matchup. And then I believe Mike Knox came out second third actually. And then after Mike Knox, you had Samoa Joe coming out, so Samoa Joe and Magnus were doing some tag team attacks and maneuvers on Mike Knox and Anderson. And then after that, I think it was Garrett Bischoff. Yeah, Garrett Bischoff came out. After Garrett Bischoff, it was Eric Young coming out. After Eric Young, it was Devon. After Devon, it was James Storm. After James Storm, it was DOC. And then after Doc, Sting came out. And he came out with the weapons already. So he came out with two trash cans. And in the trash cans were, a bunch of weapons, canes and steel chairs and such. So he puts them in the ring, and Team TNA just dominates Aces and Eights by hitting them with weapons after weapon after weapon. And then after a while, by the way, Sting did come out also with his bat, and he hit a bunch of them with his bat. And at some point, Eric Young takes the bat, and Sting, I think he was grabbing either Garrett or Anderson. I don't know. Sting was grabbing hold of either Garrett or Anderson, and Eric Young was about to hit that person. But then that person got out of the way, so Eric was almost going to hit Sting, but, he held off right in time. And that cost them, and Aces and Eights took advantage. And from then on, Aces and Eights dominated for a little bit, but then Team TNA eventually got the advantage. And at some point, they had this awesome spot where Garrett Bischoff was running away, on the top of the steel cage. So he's on top. And then James Storm and who else? James Storm and I think it was Magnus. Might have been Magnus. I think it was James Storm and Magnus. They grabbed onto Garrett for a double suplex from the top rope, but then Devon and I believe Doc grabbed onto James Storm and Magnus in, I believe, an electric chair position. And then Samoa Joe, he grabbed onto both Devon and Doc in like a powerbomb position, grabbing both their legs. And they did this huge spot. It was like, I don't know, a double suplex, powerbomb, electric chair, whatever. It was an awesome spot. And in the end, Sting hits the Scorpion Death Drop on Mike Knox. And he tells Eric Young to go on the top rope for the elbow. Eric Young goes on the top rope, but Sting is like, no, on the top of the steel cage. So Eric Young climbs up the top of the steel cage, and then Sting hits like another Scorpion Death Drop, I believe, on Mike Knox. And Eric Young jumps from the top of the steel cage with an elbow drop onto Mike Knox, goes for the cover, wins the matchup for a team. This was another great match. And after that, they showed a video package of Bully Ray and Jeff Hardy. And then the matchup, it was a good match. There actually wasn't too many like finishers in the matchup. I think Jeff Hardy maybe hit one Twist of Fate, but there wasn't like 2 or 3 swantons or stuff like that, or bully cutters. But actually, one cool spot in matchup is Bully Ray actually hit a sit down powerbomb from the top rope, or kind of from the top of the steel cage, because Jeff Hardy was climbing up the steel cage and he was on top, and Bully Ray, he was on top of the top rope grabbing onto Jeff Hardy, and he nailed it, but Jeff Hardy kicked out. At some point, you had Garrett Bischoff and Wes Brisco getting inside the ring, and that was kind of early on in the matchup. They got inside the ring, but Bully Ray and Jeff Hardy took them out. Actually, they helped each other take them out, and then they took him out outside of the steel cage. And then they closed the steel door, or the referee did that. And then later on, Hulk Hogan came out. Actually, Hulk Hogan came out after that powerbomb from the top rope. And he was cheering on Bully Ray, telling him to get up. And then all the rest of the Aces and Eights members came out and climbed up the steel cage. And at that point, Bully Ray had his chain, so he gave one chain to Hardy, and he had one chain in his hand as well. And they were back to back, since Aces and Eights were like surrounding the ring. And Devon was like facing Bully Ray. Devon was on the top rope, and Bully Ray was daring him to, jump. And then Devon grabbed something, and he took something out of his pants, out of his jeans, and it was actually the hammer. And he threw the hammer to Bully Ray. Bully Ray grabs the hammer and hits Jeff Hardy on the back, and went for the cover and won the matchup. And Bully Ray is the new World Heavyweight Champion. Finally, Bully Ray wins the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And as most of us expected, he turned heel, and he was indeed a part of Aces and Eights. And Hulk Hogan, was like, oh no, come, he was disappointed or whatever. He was shocked. And Bully Ray started, calling, insulting Hulk Hogan or broke Hogan, saying that he used them. He got on a microphone. He said his name is Bully Ray, the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion and the president of Aces and Eights. So he's the leader. And actually, I was surprised at the amount of heat he got from the fans. The fans started throwing stuff like glass. You could hear actually glass breaking. They were throwing cans, whatever they had, inside the steel cage. A bunch of stuff inside the cage. I was surprised at that, like the amount of heat he got, for that. And, that kind of gave it, in my opinion, it gave it like an epic feeling, like an epic heel turn. Like nowadays, when somebody turns heel, you rarely see that happening. And Bully Ray, he hasn't been face for that long. He's been face for a couple months, and now he turns heel again, and like this outrage from fans, people throwing stuff inside the ring. But, it was expected, but you know what? I enjoyed the show. It was a good show. Thumbs up for Lockdown. Highlights of the night. Bully Ray finally winning the world title. A bunch of spots in that first match, in that triple threat match. You had some awesome spots there by Zema, Ion, Kenny King, and also Christian York. And pretty much, you know, the show overall, it was a decent, it was not decent, it was a good show. It was a great show. I really enjoyed the show. If I have to give a rating for the show, I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It was an awesome show, but I always like to play it on the safe, keep it on the safe side, just in case they put out like an even awesome, an even better pay-per-view. I was gonna say awesomer, but I don't think that's a word. That's not a word. So it was seriously an awesome pay-per-view. If you didn't watch it, I recommend you guys catch the replay or something. If you watched the show, in the comment section, tell me what you guys thought about the show. What was your favorite moments? What was your favorite matchup? For me, my favorite match, well, man, there was a bunch of great matches on this card. I really enjoyed this triple threat match, enjoyed the tag team match. Main event, that ending gave it an epic feel with the crowd just throwing shit inside the ring. You know, maybe the triple threat match. Anyways, that is pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, as always, you can click that like button. I'd really appreciate it. With that said, I'm out, guys. See ya.